This is Outnumbered on a Friday afternoon. I'm Kayleigh McEnany here with my co-host Harris Faulkner. Also joining us, Carly Shimkus, Marie Harf, and Joe Concha. So we are now 18 days from the midterms. It's high stakes for the Democrats, who are hoping to hold onto power that you would think they would want the President of the United States' help, but it seems like many don't want his help. Maybe it's because Biden is out of touch with voters' concerns. Check out this new Monmouth poll. It's showing that 63% of voters do not think the president is paying attention to the most important issues. Or perhaps it's because they're worried about what he may say. Yesterday, Joe Biden made a rare appearance on the campaign trail in Pennsylvania with John Fetterman, who's recovering from a stroke and fighting for his political life in a close race with Dr. Mehmet Oz. And while there, the president, well, he seemed to forget who he was supporting.
John, thank you very much for running. I really do appreciate it. And Zell, you're gonna be a great lady in the Senate.
Giselle is, of course, John Fetterman's wife, not the Senate nominee for the Democrat Party. But at least 9 Democrats in tight races have either said they do not want the president's help or they dodge the question altogether. Biden was asked about that twice, and he clearly didn't appreciate the question.
But there haven't been that many candidates campaigning with you. Why are more?
That's not true. There have been 15. Count, kid, count.
Okay, and are there going to be even more?
Yeah.
Tim Ryan in Ohio said he doesn't want you there. Warnock said wouldn't say. Do you think they're making a mistake?
No, there have been 16 there I've already gone in for yet, and a lot more are asked. Another 20 or so. So I'm going to be going there.
Sir, do you have any plans to go to Nevada or Georgia in the coming weeks? Are you going to go next week?
I don't know where I'm going. I've got about 16, 18 requests around the country, so I don't know who's going where.
I mean, it's like a girl who keeps saying that she's with a guy and he keeps saying, I'm just not that into you, but thou doth protest too much. We will get to that in a moment. Harris, I want to take us back, though, to your hour, the remarks that the president had, because it was on the economy, #1 issue of importance to voters. We know Monmouth shows 31% say.
Specifically inflation for the first time from him.
Specifically, exactly. We have a clip from that. He came up with the MAGA Republican phrase, he and some strategists did, but now he has a new one. It's mega MAGA trickle down, which people seem to miss.
It's not a referendum, it's a choice. It's a choice. And the Republicans can criticize my economic record, but look at what I've inherited and what I've done, and look at what they're offering. It's mega MAGA trickle down. Mega MAGA trickle down, the kind of policies that have failed the country before and will fail it again. And it'll mean more wealth to the very wealthy, higher inflation for the middle class. That's the choice we're facing. That's why I think that we're going to do just fine.
He's already done most of that. We have higher inflation for the middle class to the point where it's a tax of epic proportions on them. And Charles Payne just shared with me last hour that it isn't that you needed to work 13 months if you're in the middle class. You'd have to work like a year and a half to get back to the pay that it takes to pay for the food and the gas and everything that you need in 2022. That means we will be behind the 8 ball as a nation starting the first of the year, even more than we are right now. We'll be so far behind in wages. But the point that the president makes that inflation and its ability to be diminished is brought on by lower deficit has been debunked. The CBO says that it doesn't even approach touching inflation by lowering the deficit until 2031. Now, that mirrors also what Penn Wharton has said. Well, Penn Wharton says the two don't really coincide all that much. But if there were any flattening of any lines, it might happen in 2031. Do you know where this economy will be if we stay where we are, spending at the rate we are at right now? In an unpredictable amount of inflation. Again, those words because of the student loan and all the giveaways from the CBO. And I thought that the Congressional Budget Office was something that administrations listen to. At least they used to. He's not. So just a quick fact check. He says that up until the midterms, we've been back and forth. Actually, they had momentum in June right after they overturned Roe versus Wade. They lost 4 points last month. Like they've lost their mojo. He says the polls are all over the place. No, they're not. GOP nationally is 5 points ahead of a generic Democrat anywhere in the country right now, as of today. He says, oh, one more shift to our side, and that'll happen before Election Day. Well, we can't predict the future, but I can tell you that he'll be in Rehoboth. He'll be in Delaware during crunch time the next few days. And the kingmaker in the party, Barack Obama, will be upstaging him.
Yeah.
So I don't know who he thinks is going to turn things around, but if it happens, it won't be him.
I think that's what we call wishful thinking on
No,
his
I
part.
call it
and delusions.
I call it flat out lying.
Yeah, or flat
Those
out
things
lying.
don't match.
Yeah, they don't. Marie, and you look at the economic indicators, inflation 8.2%, it was 1.4% when he took office. Gas prices, national average 3.83, it was 2.39 when he took office. Putting all the facts here, let's live in Biden land for a moment. There's one inescapable fact. CNN polling, 78% say the economy is poor, and I believe it's 22% who say it's good. So regardless of what facts he wants to use, this is how people feel.
Yeah, the economy is not doing well right now. I think the Democratic Party knows that. And that's why you see not just Joe Biden, but Pete Buttigieg, Barack Obama, other people making the case that this is a choice, it's not a referendum. And we passed a bill that lowers prescription drug prices for Americans. Republicans want to repeal that, right? So you see, that's just one example of the contrast you will see Democrats making, that the economy isn't good right now, but Republicans want to roll back some of that relief we've given to you. And let's not forget that millions of Americans have already voted. So we watch these polls go up and down every week. We see who has the momentum and who doesn't. I think over 5 million Americans, in places including like Georgia, record numbers we've seen that are on track to outpace the 2018 midterms. And so I think,
But we don't know how they're voting.
We don't know how they're voting.
We don't want to gloss that over.
We don't.
It's irresponsible and really just unfathomable that somebody would say, well, elections aren't a referendum. They can be. Of course, Democrats are going to say that because they don't want to get graded on their economy. They want to make it about the kind of economy that you might prefer. I like the one that's winning. I like the one that has cheaper gas. That is a referendum.
They don't want.
But it is a choice, right? There are two people on the
can
ballot.
be both.
There are two people on the ballot.
I understand Democrats wanting it to be a choice because Jen Psaki very wisely said if it's a referendum on Joe Biden, we lose. Right. Also, just with prescription drugs, I would argue we did repealing most favored nations at the end of the Trump administration. Different argument. Point is, every poll, interactive polls put this out, every single one. New York Times, every one. Shift to Republican, shift to Republican. Yeah. And we know the generic ballot always underestimates Republicans.
Oh, indeed. 54 seats lost under Bill Clinton's watch in his first term, 63 under Barack Obama. And they were polling higher than Joe Biden was at this point. So you only imagine what it's going to be like in the House. In the Senate, the Real Clear Politics projection is now 53 Republican, 47 Democrat. Momentum clearly in Republicans' favor. But it's the messaging, I think, that bothers so many Americans. When you hear the president just before last hour, he tripled down on insisting the economy is strong as hell. He said Republicans are to blame for massive spending that happened under his watch. He also said gas prices are down sharply. What was that number you said again? $2.39 when he entered, nearly $4
exactly.
now. Down sharply from an all-time high. It's purposely misleading. He also blames what he inherited when he came into office. The economy was on an upswing when he was coming into office, coming out of COVID. He also claims the GOP wants to send jobs overseas. This is incredible. And then this whole, who is poll testing in the White House these days? MAGA trickle down? Remember we went on a double date before you got pregnant with our respective spouses and we did shots of MAGA trickle down? It was. That's how effective they were. That's the point. It's just silly talk when you talk like MAGA trickle down. I talk like that to my kid.
And Carly, that Monmouth poll that 31% say he's missing the big issue. If he just stopped saying it's getting better, it's, gas prices are falling, inflation is steady. If he just said, I feel your pain.
Yeah.
This is a tough time.
Yeah,
it's a tough time globally. I feel you and I hear you.
Yeah, as opposed to eating ice cream and saying the economy is strong as hell. And then, people look around and go, this guy, clearly he's the president. He's going to spin things in his favor, but that's like a next level, not living in reality kind of thing. And MAGA trickle down, those types of nicknames never work because Republicans, they embrace them, they make T-shirts, and it never sticks. And by contrast...
And it turns off independence.
Right. By contrast, President Biden always says he wants to not build the economy from the top down, but the bottom up and middle out. But then how do you explain something like student loan debt relief, which helps the wealthiest among us, the college-educated, increases inflation, and therefore affects the poorest among us in a negative way? So I think that one of the reasons why there are a lot of Democrats who are not calling for him to campaign for them isn't because of the stumbles and the bumbles, those get the headlines, but is because there have been some unforced errors in this administration. And Kayla, you said that poll, 63% of people say, no, I wish he'd focus more on the things that matter to me. One of those things that I think is an unforced error are gas prices. I mean, there are a lot more people in this country that are worried about gas prices than are the, climate conscious eco folks. So if he made a speech and said, listen, we're going to go to the green route as much as we possibly can, but right now we're in a crisis. We're going to deregulate when it comes to oil and gas and get those prices down. You see his poll numbers go back up.
That's right. Mega MAGA trickle down. Say it 3 times fast, and good luck trying it.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.